has been and has always been sort of the center for mountain biking in Canada. And when the North Shore started to explode is when the rest of the world noticed what was going on here.
Like, people that come here all over the world and ride, they go away better riders. Like, no doubt about it, the shore is either going to eat you alive or it's going to make you a better rider.
The North Shore of Vancouver is to mountain biking what Alaska is to big mountain skiers, and North Shore of Hawaii is to surfers.
The North Shore of Vancouver is freeride mountain biking's mecca. Its trails and stunts were a catalyst for a whole new style of off-road cycling, the North Shore style.
It's amazing how far mountain biking's come.
I think I probably started building the first trail in '84.
People are starting to see that and realize it, and they can kind of do their own creative things in the woods.
The North Shore really made me the rider I am today. It's the best riding in the world.
The guys who build and maintain the trails that are the best trails are heroes.
This is the story of some unlikely entrepreneurs, a couple of progressive thinking visionaries, and some daring riders who created a mountain bike trail building legacy. All the way from old school wheelie drops to Wade Simmons' ultimate North Shore line. In the southwest corner of British Columbia, Canada, lies a city steeped in mountain bike history. Vancouver's population sprawls north over the Burrard Inlet into the surrounding mountains. This temperate rainforest is the home to a very unique style of off-road cycling culture.
There already was a very strong cycling community in Vancouver and British Columbia when mountain biking came along. So people were ready to ride mountain bikes. They were looking for something like a mountain bike to ride. And that's why it took off here.
I'm not sure, but I think we started in 1980 riding out here. Well, you know, that's when I started. I rode for a couple of years, only seeing, 2 people every month riding or hiking up here. I had to get a bike from the States. I didn't get one here because they didn't have bikes here until I think the Cove Bike Shop opened up.
People that were riding bikes got into the business just because they were the first in Canada to do it. So they took it upon themselves to spread the word of mountain biking across Canada.
Way back in 1981, we started up a little bike shop in Deep Cove, and we were the first guys in Canada really selling off-road bikes. So all I ever did was ride, and my mom was really on my case about not working or having a job, so me and a couple buddies, we said, well, let's just open a bike shop and pretend we're working.
The first bikes that we sold in our bike shop, they were hard to get, for one thing. They were all handmade. They didn't make them very fast. They made like a couple or 3 a week. So getting a hold of any bikes to sell was difficult. And plus they were really expensive because they were handmade and the parts were hard to get.
Me and my chumleys used to ride in the bush on 10 speeds and our mother's fat tired bikes, all the time.
Mountain biking injected a lot of fun into cycling. People got dirty, they smiled, maybe they kicked a hacky sack around, and just attached all those memorable good feelings to what cycling is.
I've never lived in California or anything, but I could imagine what the old skaters would be like, and I think that's what they're like. They're all about quality of life, no rush, like surf culture, but it happens to be with mountain biking, and that's kind of what they're all like. They're just really chill guys.
We never opened the shop till after 12 in the afternoon and closed her at 5:30, so there was lots of riding time and didn't get bothered too much with customers. You could get away with that when you're the only off-road shop in the country. You could kind of dictate the hours.
Dan and John, they're those guys. I've had some of my best rides with those guys. They're living the dream. It's kind of like Chaz at the Cove. They're just mountain bikers that kind of wanted to make a living out of it.
We got hardcore through the crew we knew and the people we surrounded ourselves with. We were just out there ripping and having fun.
They eventually came by the shop and asked permission if they could open up their own shop, and of course, they're such good guys. I wanted to see them succeed, and I just thought it was pretty nice of those guys to ask for permission, like as if I was the guy they had to ask.
Well, I think On Top's always had a cool feeling, but I think we were focusing on that style of ride. And that's essentially what we did when we opened up the shop.
Bike shops are cool, man. It's where you want to hang out. The same people that enjoy the same sort of thing that you do hang out there. It's like a clubhouse, not so much a shop. It's like that's where the ride tails happen. That's where you learn about things.
It was like a gathering point.
Yeah.
And everyone who gathered here knew they were doing that same kind of thing. It was something different, something you couldn't explain, but they all knew they were doing it. And that's like the crew that we hooked up with.
There was a small group of riders that were into riding, and if you wanted to get into the know, you had to get in the know, and that was it.
Once people started riding more and more mountain bikes and the roadies started crossing over to ride mountain bikes in the off-season, that's when it really started taking off. Vancouver and BC are a hotbed for mountain biking. The outdoors here are fantastic. Incredible mountains to ride on.
I'm not going to say sheer coincidence, but just the natural fact that we got the sickest train in the world and people that are totally pumped made it happen in our backyard, which is the North Shore.
A need for mountain bike-specific trails began to surface on the North Shore.
The trails that the first guy started to ride were basically hiking trails around the North Shore. Bay and Powell, which is a trail that starts in Horseshoe Bay and goes all the way to Deep Cove.
First trails that we started ripping her up on the shore probably would have been Severed Dick. That was a classic. That was probably the gnarliest trail back in the late 70s, early 80s, and then they just spread out from there.
When we started out, there was like 4 or 5 trails. Ladies only, grannies, oil can.
I would say Hangman was a pretty extreme trail because it was long and steep and it was old school.
Steep fall line, you have to drop over this tree, and there's like 2 cascading rock faces, and it's like, once you're in, you're in. Like, there's no stopping. You can't like break and go, not today. It's like, once you commit, either you're gonna make it or you're gonna crash. And it has like multiple lines like that. And that's, when you're on, you're on. When you're off, you don't go to the hang mode.
Those kind of trails that were just steep fall line with natural stuff on them definitely were some of my favorites. And they've been around for years. They're some of the original trails.
Todd Fiender's built more than 40 trails and over 150 stunts on the North Shore. He continues to build and create the North Shore style.
I think I probably started building the first trail in '84. There were young little kids who were riding down the trail, and they passed me and said hello and rode off, and then they went to a bike shop and said to the guy who owned the bike shop, and that was On Top Bike Shop, they said, "We saw that burly guy digging in the bush again." Everybody used to call me Burly Digger, and now it's just sort of changed to Digger.
Digger, I think we all owe a lot to Digger because he was one of the forefathers in designing and digging trails. He built some of the best trails around, and he's put his life into it.
Digger, this guy is like embedded in stone as a legend in the scene because he's out there building crazy stuff, not even really to ride for himself. He just gets a kick out of having other guys ride it.
Yeah, this is one of the stunts I built for one of my chumleys to jump for one of my films. It's called The Shelf.
Digger definitely has a passion for trail building like I've never seen, before. He loves building stunts to challenge us and loves seeing us ride him. That's just, what he gets his thrills out of, so it's good to have a guy like that.
I truly think that Digger kicked off freeride. Like, he really set up the first true freeride trails.
I think Digger started building trails in the late 80s, early 90s. That's when this type of riding really took hold. We really understood what kind of potential we had in these mountains to ride mountain bikes, and mountain bikes in themselves were just starting to evolve too.
Prolific trail builders, definitely Digger, top shelf. Monday morning, 8 a.m., going for a ride. His truck is up at the gate. It's working. He's addicted. And his trails, as they speak, volumes for how and what is possible on a bike.
Digger had designed some of the most amazing trails and stunts the shore had ever seen, and it inspired other builders. A high school physics teacher was about to try his own experiment with ramps, skinnies, ladder bridges, and teeter-totters.
Dangerous Dan is a very unique individual. He excels at what he does out there.
So my name's Dan Cowan, Daniel Thunder Cowan. I started building trails in West Van here in 1993. Nicknamed Dangerous Dan. Yeah.
I was the one who named Dan Dangerous Dan. He took us up to ride the old chairlift line, and he was just flying down it, and hair flying. And I looked over at my friend and said, "This Dan kid's dangerous." And that was it, Dangerous Dan.
Digger named me because he thought what I was doing was dangerous. He thought I was going to hurt myself.
Danger's a phenomenal rider. But what he's done for the shore, people wouldn't even know, because it's the thousands of hours he's put in building stuff.
With the boundaries being pushed on every ride, the bikes, components, and gear were having a hard time keeping up with the demands of the North Shore.
This was petrifying. You'd ride down this and then over this and down that steep stuff, and you'd just be laughing the whole way or screaming. It was just the best. And now you look at it and you go, wow, you almost go down here with your eyes closed. And you gotta remember, when we were riding this trail, this was full rigid cantilever brakes and clipless pedals and toe straps. No armor. When we were riding this trail, this was before helmets. People wouldn't even wear helmets. I was wearing a Harley Davidson beanie down here, and people were laughing at me going, "Oh, you're wearing a helmet."
We were doing product development like crazy out here at the time.
We'd go through rims in probably 6 weeks, burn a rim out, totally.
The North Shore is a great place to test product. A lot of companies have done it in the past. I think it's just because it's so wet and it's just ruthless on the bike, A
lot of these components, suspension, brakes, and that were being developed out here on the shore because the shore was a virtual time machine on eating through product. If you could go through fall to spring on a product and have it hold up, you put that component through 3, 4, 5 years of normal wear and tear.
Bike manufacturers will come out to the shore and test their bikes out here just because, this is what the world bases their bikes on, because if it works good here, it's going to work anywhere in the world.
As the trails grew in popularity, builders like Digger and Dangerous Dan tried to minimize traffic on their latest creations.
You didn't know where trails were. There was a labyrinth there, and you didn't know when you were going to stumble across it or find it.
At that point in time, the trails that were being built were hard to find, you know, and they weren't on a map. Somebody had to show you where they were. They just, you know, it was all word of mouth.
The entrance would be covered up, so unless you knew exactly where it was, you weren't going to find it. He was keeping it a secret from us, wondering if we were going to stumble across them. It was kind of still a secret thing, and the only way to deserve riding that trail, you had to earn being up there for enough hours to actually come across it. It was good fun, man. When you found a trail, it was unreal.
I think a lot of the ladder bridges and stuff, Digger started to develop, and teeter-totters, and you know, a lot of it was just for function more than thrill.
And I try and use natural stuff. I you know, roll over rocks, little drop-offs and stuff like that. And I was the first one to put in a teeter-totter.
Digger just went with it, you know, and a lot of the bridge work was developed through swampy areas, and you know, lots of fall, lots of old logging slash, and they had to get up and over these areas.
My style is more, well, I like to call it flow, where my chumleys would ride down it, and after go, that was like a ride. It was like going on the roller coaster where you get to the top of the hill and the rest of it is just braking and coasting and stuff like that.
And then people started to look at fallen logs and go, why don't we bridge on top of these logs?
Digger's trails inspired me, for sure, because my first trail, the Fleshy Wound, was basically an extension of one of his first trails, the Big Eye, and that's how we met.
With Danger Dan sort of jumping in there, doing a lot of trail work, it became another level that those guys were taking the sport to, and it was really good to see that they were pushing the envelope a bit, because you know, that's what the sport needed.
And the Reaper was progressive in its time. It had the opening move on the Reaper was like a 60-foot long log, about maybe 40-degree angle, and this was like the opening stunt. So it was kind of like, if you couldn't ride this, you might as well not even try the rest of the trail, because you know, this is the bouncer at the front door letting you in, kind of thing.
The Reaper was definitely trials influence, right? This high, skinny balancing, that comes from trials, right, essentially. And also doing, you know, back in the day when we did wheelie drops, right, rather than transitions, right?
When we were young, we just thought big. We thought make it big, make it skinny, make it high, you know, that was the idea.
Both the Pre-Reaper and the Reaper were the buffest trail around. And definitely the gnarliest trail around as well.
They're building elevated ladder bridges where you go into a teeter-totter 10 feet off the ground, and you know, I thought it was pretty extreme, but it seemed to catch on. It seemed like the more risk, the more thrill, the more people wanted to do it.
And had some scary stuff, like the circus was just 20 feet in the air, 6 inches wide with a teeter-totter in the middle of it. Like, who would think of that?
Yeah, after building the circus and riding the circus, everything in it, I think it blew away Digger for sure. I mean, I hope it did. I don't know. It blew away me. You know, I was like, whoa, I can actually ride this, woo!
Where my bridges, they're pretty wide. You gotta jump off some scary stuff, and you gotta know what you're doing. It's, you know, biking skills or hospital bills.
That's what happened in the North Shore, is that trail building became an art form. And almost trail builders would try to outdo each other, try to do like nicer stunts.
Now everybody's trying to outfunk the stunt from the other guy.
You know, just for the sake of building a crazy stunt, I built the Radiculator. The Radiculator has a gate on it, what we call a gate. It's like a super skinny up on top of this log. It's just a gnarly little beginning to it, right? And that's good, because if you can't make it up there, then you shouldn't be up there at all anyways, right? And then I used to put a chain across the next section, because the next section, you go onto something this wide and it's like 15 feet that way and 12 something that way, right?
The thing about this thing is so high right now that I don't even want to look, I don't even want to walk on it.
Yeah, then you hit the teeter-totter section, which is kind of the highest point but it's of the entire Radiculator. And I call the drop at the end the depositor, because it's like after this huge experience, you get to deposit something.
Overall, the riding is slow, so you can a lot of times get out of it. But if you're not getting out of it, you're hurting.
Done.
You got to be good at crashing if you're going to ride the shore.
If you're not from the shore and you've never ridden there before, you should be scared. And even if you have ridden there before and you're going to the shore, you're pretty much scared anyway. I mean, it's really intense, and the wetness just takes the whole thing to another level.
I think the shore on a wet day is the hardest riding I've ever done. Really not a matter of like if you crash or not, it's just a matter of how many times you're gonna go down. To definitely be cautious, because it's, like I said, the hardest riding in the world.
But the shore is always going to have this tight tree, fall line, you know, wet, gnarly terrain. It's beautiful.
Something that's evolved on the shore are the skinnies. So those are log rides, but skinnier and skinnier and skinnier. You all right? Yeah. One of my worst memories was definitely breaking my leg up on grouse here. So that wasn't very fun.
Yeah, all right.
I broke my leg.
I got lots of blankets.
Okay. Okay.
Check yourself in all ways, and you may never fall.
It's the high-speed crashes that eat you up.
Despite the steep, technical, and highly dangerous riding, mountain bikers continued to flock to the North Shore, progressing the fledgling sport.
I think some of my best memories on the shore are when you get a trail like this with the first snow on it. You get about 1 inch or 2 inches of snow, and just a little blanket. It just makes everything silent, and you can look back and you can just see your line kind of serpentining down the trail. Man, that's a special time.
There's no faking it. You're either doing it because you love it and you're feeling good and doing it because that's what you want to do, not because you're posing.
This is one of the drops that I built. It's probably, well, it is one of the highest drops on the North Shore. And Tyler Clausen did it on December 24th, wearing a Santa Claus hat in the snow.
With the increasing number of riders arriving at the shore, a small group of individuals would become a larger group of friends. This group of pioneers would ride trails previously considered unrideable, pushing the boundaries and changing mountain biking forever. The North Shore was about to face its toughest change.
Yeah, danger!
With popularity came controversy, and not everyone liked what was going on.
I remember the day because Digger came into the store and he's like, I'm like, I didn't understand. Like, these things were coming out of his mouth, and he was, because you can see he was like, an event had happened that kind of blown him away as far as the trails were going on. I was like, he's muttering the Reaper, and I was thinking, okay, maybe there's a bunch of stunts that ripped out or something like that.
And that's when mountain biking was like growing so high that the politicians were taking a look at it, and there's a lot of injuries. And that's when the trails on Cypress Mountain got torn down. The Reaper, it's gone. It's gone. And I'm like, what do you mean it's gone? Like, what do you mean the Reaper's gone? You know, like, it's like impossible. Like, how could that happen? You know, and then the heart started kind of sinking a little bit, and I was like, oh man, I can't, no. Digger was so, emotionally struck by it that I had the sinking feeling that, it was what I saw.
In terms of what the politicians had to do, they probably had to take a careful look at what was going on because none of it was authorized.
This is the chopping of it. There it is. There's the pieces. There used to be a beautiful Reaper sign that I spent a lot of time painting. I was quite proud of it. It was fluorescent green with a black background. I did these spooky little letters. I was like, oh my goodness, did they go down the rest of the trail? And then I started running down, and every stunt, down, and I was just, man, oh God, just, it almost makes me cry right now, just thinking that day. It was terrible. It's like a part of me died. And of course, the politicians and, they don't stop to think, wait a second, this is like, some phenomenal thing that's, that maybe in the future has some sort of meaning, or maybe let's analyze it. People are always scared of something, that they don't understand, they don't know. It's just a human way of being, right? So they come in here and they make the decision pretty quickly without anybody even really having any say in it, right? Get rid of the trail. Every single structure on this mountain is gone. And that's what they did. They came up here and Reaper, swollen uvula, and the whatchamacallit Yeah, only 3, but only 3. They're all like, so that's 6 kilometers of highly condensed, meticulously made, heavy-duty stunts. 6 kilometers of it, gone. Ripped down in my life. Yeah. That's a lot, eh? I'm still a little bit bitter about it, though. You know, I'm still a little bit bitter. But how can you not? Because it's thousands of hours of work, thousands, literally thousands, thousands of dollars worth of materials, and it's my artwork, right? It's my passion. It's what I like doing, or one of the things I like doing most in this world, in this life, right? So, I mean, it's not. They don't have to act like they did, you know. Like, and yeah. I mean, yeah.
Knowing that a teardown could happen any day, Ben Boyko is a new breed of renegade trail builders.
This zone that we're in here right now is a zone I found about a year and a half ago. It's got a really nice terrain, really nice contour for building, and started building a stunt called the Bananarama just down the bottom of the hill over there. And got it finished, rode it a couple times, and found out that the Burnaby Parks Department had found it. Burnaby's not really into having North Shore style trails built through it, so probably gonna move on to a different zone next time. The new stunt that we got here, it was derived from the remnants of the old Bananarama, using all the old material. And it basically starts out as a single track that kind of S's down the top of the hill, comes out onto like a bowl, a dish style bowl off a hip right here, comes down another big hill with a nice big, long, wide landing, into a curve wall ride to drop up another hill. And hopefully one time we're going to be able to finish a seawall at the other end of the hill in between 2 big trees. A lot of influence from the North Shore as far as my style of building. You know, I'm pretty much a journeyman carpenter, so I've got a lot of experience in building, like structure-wise, so I don't build things that fall apart or whatever. So, you know, it's kind of easy like that. But as far as like stunts, the style of stunts, you know, I just kind of like mimic like BMX ramp style, but like I kind of incorporate the big mountain and North Shore style, things like that. So I just kind of like, you know, big scale, make stuff big scale. Basically, how I started trail building was one day I kind of called my friend up, the other from North Vancouver, this guy Mark Stokes. Took me out mountain biking a couple times on the shore, and I was wondering, like, I was kind of asking him, like, where's all like the big like 20-foot gaps and everything? Like, where's all the big road gaps? And he says, are you crazy, man? Like, you got to build your own stuff. There's nothing like that. There's nothing bigger than like 12 feet on the North Shore. I said, what? We got to build our own stuff? Are you serious? He said, yeah, man. You got to go out there and do it yourself. Sometimes, after all the effort you've put into building all this, like sometimes a year, 2 years, whatever, all the man hour, like labor, you know, the heart and soul that you put into it, sometimes you walk in and you find all your stuff cut down. But on a positive note, after seeing all the photos and all the shots that come out of it and all the good things that come out of it, it makes it pretty worthwhile. Even if you get to ride it only a couple times, just seeing the shots that come out of it. Because it's guaranteed it's going to get found sooner or later, going to get cut down again. So I think we're going to push and try and shoot this in the next couple of days to get this all banged out before it gets cut down once again.
The gringo, sing flows, yes, the cockazoid. Kill Agnes with a glance from the people of Annoy. My life stored in underwear, drawers of my dresser. Rhymes from true God, yours is child of a lesser, a lowercase G, hanging under the bar. My G's above and beyond and shining bright from afar like North Star. Guided me to Gibson, the manger, Dr. Stranger, like Blase Blah, bringing danger. Infermos of harmonico sick, stand tall, surfing ink from Bic, push the click, now I'm running, leading down the L-Pen shaft, and spin a phonograph.
Not content with the idea of having his work destroyed, Dangerous Dan went searching for a trail builder's haven. The short ferry ride from the North Shore, he found Bowen Island.
Like, it's spent all that time to have something taken down. It's just not worth it. That's why I don't go to the North Shore very much anymore, right? All that being said, you know, every time I'm there, I feel at home. Like, say, wow, I'm in the woods there, right? But, you know, you only have so much time, and here, Bowen Island, this is paradise here, right?
Oh my, city lights and dust. My head's about to bust from all the smoke.
Hopefully my ears are gonna be nice and neat.
Oh my, back's about to break. I took all I could take, not anymore. Deep in the dark now.
With all this trail tragedy, I had to get, you know, I just started, it was inevitable, I just started building on more on Bowen, right? And yeah, I mean, and Bowen, on Bowen Island, it's, the only person I see up there is the mayor, and he thinks what I do is what it is, which is artwork. I mean, the mayor even suggested when I saw him, when I almost ran over him on the trail one day, he was hiking up, he suggested that he could bring the whole council out and have a walk down the trail so I could educate them on how it is that I do what I do. Because he himself was just like, this is like, you must spend hours out here, and it's unreal.
What's it called again?
It's called a thingamajigger. It was the answer to the whatchamacallit, and the whatchamacallit was the trail in North Vancouver that they took down. And the whatchamacallit was kind of like this, you know, in a way. It was just, once you got on it, you were on it for the entire trail. This is kind of like the epicenter of the thingamajigger. So it's like, as I said, it's about 200 feet, 150 feet down that way where you start, and you got steps at the beginning, you ride down this log, and now you have these steps here. Because originally I thought I was just going to connect that log to this log, right, just a bridge, and I thought, okay, now we got to get up to that height, and I thought, well, that means we got to put a bridge on this log. And then the next chain of reasoning was, well, you know, a ramp going up, I've done that a million times. Like, everything sounded boring about it. I thought, well, how can I, you know, change it up? And the step technology was born. So that's how these steps started. I built 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, and then step there, the steps over there, and steps over there. And that's kind of the theme of this stunt now.
You know, I think the initial boom is there, and now people thought it was a fad, and it's not a fad, it's stuck, and now it's a slow grind again.
The North Shore style of ladder bridges and stunts has now spread around the globe.
Well, you know, they're building trails all over the world now that say North Shore style. Czechoslovakia looking magazines, North Shore style trails. They're down in Miami, they got North Shore Miami. Down in Seattle, they got North Shore trails. Everyone's copying the North Shore.
The coolest thing for me now is to go all the places in the world that I travel and see the North Shore style of trail everywhere. People are, building it in Germany and Australia and all these places. They have ladder bridges and they call it, their North Shore trail. So that's rad.
Everywhere you go in the world, there's like North Shore stunts and North Shore trails, and you can be riding in some place that there's not a tree for miles and there's like a ladder bridge out in the middle of a field with a drop or a skinny or something, and it's pretty bizarre and pretty random, but at the same time it's super cool that that little place in Vancouver created such a stir in the whole world about riding bikes.
That now when you go to the UK, when you go to Colorado, when you go to Europe, there are places all over the place that have adopted the North Shore style of riding and brought it to their local regions. The fact that ski resorts are embracing, the North Shore style of gravity-assisted riding is just, another stage in the evolution.
Whistler Black Elm, North America's #1 rated ski resort, offers 5,000 vertical feet, over 50 trails totaling 120 miles, 7 months of the year.
Bike parks are a big part of it. Bike parks are spawning up everywhere. I always say this, global warming is in mountain biking's favor. All these ski mountains are gonna have to look to an alternative sport to generate money, and they're looking at mountain biking, and it's growing.
Whistler's bike park is littered with twisting single track, sculpted berms, and of course, North Shore style bridges and ramps.
The popularity of it, it's been good and bad, I suppose, right? Now they're kind of accepting it because, they have to accept it because there's a dollar figure attached to the industry here now. They can't just, say no mountain biking. They would cut off a significant part of their economy, right? The local districts.
As ski resorts build bike parks, host free ride festivals, and entertain thousands with slope-style competitions, the North Shore stunts get pushed further into the mainstream's eyes.
I think it's inevitable that there will be more and more places to go and free ride North Shore style. And I think it's really cool that it started here.
At a remote location, pro freerider Wade Simmons and trail builder Riley McIntosh are constructing what Wade calls the ultimate North Shore line.
So we're out finishing up this trail that we're filming for the next New World Disorder, Flying High Again, and it's kind of the ultimate North Shore line. If I was to ever dream up a line, it would be something similar to this. It kind of incorporates old school bridge work, gaps, skinnies. It's kind of got all the elements of a trail that I would consider one of my favorite trails. The builders of this trail have been at it for about 3 weeks, Riley McIntosh, and I've come out here and helped them for a couple days now. We're just putting the finishing touches on it, tweaking it so it's going to be just smooth and flowable. And that's kind of the essence of a trail, is just you want to keep the momentum going and into gnarly things, and Riley has a really good eye for that.
Riley has made a career out of finding ideal lines and building amazing stunts.
And pretty much just rolled up here and went, oh, I'm gonna hike down there. And that was it, really. I knew right away it'd be super hard to build in here and there's tons of difficulties. But I just figured it was such a beautiful spot that it'd be a good place for the big Wade Simmons ultimate line ever. Da, da, da.
boys are going to come up and session this line, I think. Riley's going to go down in history. So we're just finishing up the slats here on the end of the line, coming down the slope here, across the ravine. We're gonna step up onto this bridge that we just finished framing. And that's about it. We're just doing the last of the slats and should be good to go. Ow!
I'm just putting this stuff called hardware cloth on this steep log because it's not the most grippy of logs around. And Wade's gonna be coming down like this steep bridge right onto this narrow log with moderately high consequences, and he's got to, once he comes down, he's just committed and he's got to maintain the center line on this log. So I'm just putting this grippy stuff down to help with the old grippage.
We're just rigging it up for cable cam right now. We've got another day's work in the trail and it'll be primo. The cable cam takes a couple hours to set up. I think it's going to be a 2 cable cam situation, so we're going to run one from the top and then halfway down to the end. Like I said, this trail is probably like 300 meters long, so it's logistically it's hard to set up. And I think we'll have like probably the sickest cable cam footage ever recorded in mountain bike history. Yes.
I think I'm just done the trail right now. Like, for the purpose of this filming, it's like, oh, just finished the whole trail after 5 weeks. Oh, okay, sweet. Okay, done. What do I do now?
After more than a month of building, the trail is complete. The cameras are ready, and Wade is focused as he drops in to shred the ultimate North Shore line. The massive exposure of the North Shore style has brought acceptance to the North Shore trails of today.
See what's cool about this, man? This is cool. Like, this is classic shore. They use the terrain, bridges to get up and over stuff, small gap. This is reminiscent about, you know, like the secret trails. These are what people do now. This is like this is a legal trail. You know, money goes into building this trail, and this is the type of things that kids get to ride. You know, this is the legacy of the shore right here. I don't know if mountain biking needed the shore to open this kind of style of riding, you know, to bridges, things like that. You know, like people were stuck maybe riding roads. But look what you can do. You can take any random forest now, and with a bit of creativity, you can build a trail down. And you know, it's just like, that's what's so great about the mountain bike, is that they're so adaptable to any terrain. And that's what's so cool about the shore, is that it's, I think, brought mountain biking to so many different places that otherwise probably wouldn't have seen mountain bikes ever. You know, it's good times in North Shore right now. All the trails that we know are now legal. We're doing map systems, rating systems, similar to ski mountains and stuff like that.
So that's the one place where cyclists have to come out of their shell and come together as a group and say, demand, you know, that there has to be a place for cycling.
I just say go out and ride. I like it when people ride. You know, I like it when people say I rode your trail and I loved it, and I go, excellent. You know, that's what makes me happiest, when someone comes up and says, oh yeah, that was the coolest ride, that was great. You know, I'm building stuff like that down in my town and stuff like that. It's great, it's fun. You know, it makes you smile. It makes you think that, you know, you sort of have a legacy that's going on. And
it's expanding the whole industry of mountain biking, which is a good thing for all mountain bikers, right? It's a great thing. That's what we want, right? We want more people to mountain bike. It means, you know, yeah, it means I can come up and build more trails, right? Because this is what I love doing. I built all these trails. No one's ever paid me.
It's caught on because it's fun, you know. You build trails, you go up in the woods, you build a couple lines, totally interpretive. You know, it's awesome being in the forest, and yeah, I think people are starting to see that and realize it, and they can kind of do their own creative things in the woods.
It's a unique landscape, though. Where else in the world would you find something like that? It's one of a kind.
You know, I'm just lucky to be at the right place at the right time.
It just happened to be here that these guys all were, and we're doing it.
12 years ago, I started making the movies, the North Shore Extreme series. And it's produced by Todd Fiander, and that's my real name. People were writing into websites saying, Todd Fiander's stealing all Digger's stuff, all Digger's hard work, he's filming it all. It's the same guy, but they didn't know that. And I'd be in bike shops standing beside people, and they'd be going, yeah, man, I met that Digger guy a couple of weeks ago, and he's the coolest dude, and everything like that. And I'd be standing right beside him, and I don't know who they were talking to, and they'd look at me and then talk back to the bike owner and say, yeah, that Digger's a great guy.